Meeting of the Mount Pleasant Planning Commission is now called to order. Ms. Pavidyko, will you please take a roll call?
Commissioner Devaney,
Here.
Commissioner Farley,
Here.
Commissioner Friedrich,
Here.
Commissioner Havels,
Here.
Commissioner Irwin,
Here.
Commissioner Kingsworthy,
Here.
Commissioner Leash, absent, Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
Commissioner Ortman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes that you would like to make?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the May 1st, 2025 Planning Commission regular meeting. Does anybody have any changes that you'd like to make?
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 1st, 2025 Planning Commission work session. Does anybody have any changes that you'd like to make?
I want to move to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the Zoning Board of Appeals report. Mr. Havels?
Madam Chair, we did not meet.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the communications. Ms. Povidenko, did we receive any communications?
Yes, so you've received communications related to 3 cases for tonight. The first one was an email received in opposition to SUP-25-08 for the short-term rental at 105 East Broadway. The second case for the gas station at 802 North Main Street, you have received for SUP-2509, you have received 63 letters in opposition and 1 additional letter in opposition, both received today. And then the third case, the next case they received opposition letters is regarding Z, the rezoning 25-02 for 1104 East Chippewa. There was 1 letter with 12 signatures that have been received on June 4th and 1 email received today in opposition as well.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for, our first one is SUP 2508, a request for a special use permit for short-term rental. Ms. Pavidenko, if you'd please introduce the item.
Sure. So first, I apologize for the slide saying SUP 2505. I meant 2508. So the first case that we have here tonight is the applicant Rich Swinglehurst on behalf of RJ Downtown Investments LLC is seeking approval for a short-term rental located at 105 East Broadway. The goal is to convert the 2 existing dwelling units into short-term rental units to bring more tourists to downtown Mount Pleasant. The existing building is a 2-story mixed-use building. Midori Restaurant is located at the ground floor level, and the second story has a total of 1,672 square feet. It contains a 1-bedroom unit with approximately 500 square feet and 2-bedroom units with 750 square feet. There is no parking on the premises. However, there are several public parking spaces at the town center and Jockey Alley parking lots. Overnight parking is also available at the Jockey Alley parking lot. The 2 dwelling units already have a valid rental license through the fire department for a family or up to 2 unrelated occupants in each unit. The applicant is not proposing any building or site alterations at this time, but has indicated that he would do general unit improvements to market them as short-term rentals. So this is a map of the location of the site. As you can see on the map, we have on the north, the restaurant Pizzanello. It's a commercial establishment. On the east, a mixed-use building. On the south and west, also mixed-use buildings. The future land use designation contained in the 2050 master plan says mixed-use high for the surrounding parcels. And the districts of the parcel and surrounding parcels is CD5 Urban Center Character District with the residential restriction at the ground floor level as a special requirement. So this is a picture of the current conditions viewed from Broadway looking northeast. And the conditions viewed from the back of the property looking southwest. When analyzing the general standards that apply for any special use being proposed, I have not seen any issue with this proposal. When looking at the specific conditions that apply to short-term rentals only, there are several of them that are not applicable to this case. And then the ones at the bottom are applicable, and the applicant complies with those requirements. Regarding public comment, we have received one email in opposition. It has been delivered on June 4th, 2025. And the letter was sent to the planning commissioners before the meeting, and it has been placed at the dais for your reference as well. So the attached written response that the applicant provided to the special use criteria was able to demonstrate the proposed use is consistent with the character of the area and the future land use identified in the master plan. More specifically, staff observed that the proposed short-term rental will help bring more tourists to downtown Mount Pleasant. The use will help local businesses. The use will help attract more temporary stay options in downtown. We do not have a hotel, unfortunately, so that would be a way to get tourists into downtown. No outdoor gathering spaces are provided. Therefore, the proposed use will not lead to noise disturbance in the area for long-term residents. And the building is located close to a public parking lot that allows overnight parking, so no impacts on traffic are expected. So with the findings and analysis in this report, the staff has recommended that the Planning Commission approves SUP-25-08. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for Ms. Pawlidyko? Okay, seeing none. If the applicant is here and you would like to speak, you're welcome to come forward up to the podium. And if you could please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Rich Swindelhurst. My address is 110 West Michigan Street. And appreciate you guys hearing out this request. Essentially, my family has had this building for, I think it's been about 16 years now. And the upper units are just kind of tired and would like to improve the space. And unfortunately, the rent levels in Mount Pleasant, or at least downtown, are pretty low right now. And doing some analysis on short-term rental seems to be a way that we could afford to improve the space. We're in the bar and restaurant business in town and seek any and all ways to increase traffic and more tourism downtown. As Manuela stated, unfortunately, we don't have a hotel. And so our goal is to kind of get any and all tourists that we can towards the area. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to help answer.
Any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I will open up for public comment related to this case. And if there's any members from the public that wish to speak, you're welcome to come up to the podium. And just for a reminder that each person is allowed to speak once per proposed item during a hearing, and that you have a maximum of 5 minutes for speaking. Okay, seeing no one from the public here, is there anyone online?
I don't see anybody online. If there's anyone on Zoom that would like to speak, please raise your hand so I can call your name. Meanwhile, I'm looking at email and I don't see any new emails coming in tonight. I don't see anybody on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. I will close public comment and open discussion.
Move to approve SUP 2508.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for SUP 2509 and SPR 25, a request for a special use permit and site plan review for a new gas station and convenience store. Ms. Pawlidyko, will you please introduce the item?
The applicant, KC Atanasov, on behalf of Christ Oil Company, is seeking approval for a special use permit and site plan review to build a new gas station and convenience store or food mart at 111 Palmer Street. The current address there is 802 North Main Street, but just to clarify, the address will be changed to 111 Palmer Street to address and reflect the convenience store location to comply with the zoning rules. The proposed scope of work includes the demolition of the existing 14,213 square foot building located at the corner of Main and Palmer Street, and the construction of a new 6,150 square foot convenience store with 8 vehicular and 4 bicycle parking spaces. The gas station will provide 8 pump stations and 4 electric charging stations, which are to be installed in the future. This is a map of the site's location. The current use of the site immediately to the north across Pickard Street is DTE Energy. On the east, we have a liquor store and a single-family home. On the south, a duplex and a triplex. And on the west, a post office. The future land use on the north is industrial and mixed-use medium. Mixed-use medium on the east, mixed-use low and residential on the south, and mixed-use low onto the west. Actually, I'm going to make a correction. Oh, no, that's the future land use map. That's correct. The zoning is what you see on the map. It's SDI, Industrial Special District on the north, CD4, General Urban, and CD3, Suburban Character Districts on the east. And then on the south, we have, again, CD4 and CD3. And on the west side, we have a civic zone designation on the post office. So these are the current conditions viewed from the corner of Palmer and Main Street, looking northeast. And the conditions viewed from Pickard looking southwest. And I'm just going to make a note here that this corner has been referred to the community as the gateway to downtown Mount Pleasant, and it has been vacant for decades. So it is one of the priorities for the community for a long time to see that corner looking much better than what it does today. So just wanted to put that as a historical background to everybody. When looking at the general standards that apply to all special use permits, we do see one item that we want to highlight here for the commission. So as with gas stations, we understand that usually applicants will like to keep the lights on. This gas station in particular, they're not anticipating opening 24/7. They would be closed during the evening. And any new lighting that's added to the site has to comply with the city code lighting standards, which does not allow light to go beyond the property lines. We have a foot candle measurement at the property lines that they have to abide to. However, because we know that this could be different than what people experience, it's currently dark, there's nothing going on that site. We have done the review, and the building safety official basically provided a comment in his comment sheet that I referred to in the conditions as well, to have the applicant, once the electrician installs all the lights, come to site and measure the property lines, basically with a light meter, to make sure that the site complies indeed with the city code ordinances. So that is what you see there, the condition of approval. The next one is related to the same one, and it's just a different section of the ordinance. Both of them are really trying to get into nuisances and how special uses could potentially impact surrounding sites, which include potential noise, light, traffic, intensity of the use itself. So again, light kind of raised to the top, and we are putting that as a condition. And then going to the specific requirements for gas stations, all of those items have been met by the applicant. I would also say that we worked with the applicant for a very long time on this proposal. They have come to the city a few times trying to develop, and they couldn't comply with the rules. We worked with the architect on this particular site plan iteration for, I would say, around 5 months at this point to get them to a site plan that complies with the ordinance. So that's why you can see here all the proposals complying with the special use. So for site plan review, I'm going to go through what they submitted. They submitted a larger packet, but I'm putting here the drawings that are relevant to the zoning ordinance. So you can see here on the left side is the proposed site plan. One thing to note about the site plan is that the building placement mattered a lot. Pickard is a high-speed road. It is a high traffic, high capacity truck traffic area. Therefore, it was much better to have the pumps oriented to that side because those who are traveling and through Mount Pleasant, they may need gas. So it is good to be visible on that end. But also, we did not want the pumps to be too close to residential properties, even though we do allow gas stations in any CD4 district here in Mount Pleasant. The other item is that the convenience store is then oriented completely along Palmer to have that 60% frontage along Palmer and really screen the gas station from the community or from the residential neighborhood. There is only one narrow driveway opening at the southeast corner of the site on Palmer. That is going to be an exit only. So we're trying to disincentivize traffic through Palmer. And the only reason why there is an access there is for trucks to be able to come to the site from Pickard or Main, unload, and then come unloaded and exit through Palmer unloaded. So we're not also adding a lot of heavy loads onto Palmer, which is not designed as a traffic route to protect the asphalt. The other thing to mention is regarding the landscaping plan that you can see on the right. We have made sure that the applicant complies with the streetscape standards. So you can see a lot of new trees that are going to be planted on the site. And the building is set back 20 feet from the street to give more wiggle room for landscaping. And one thing to note is that along Pickard Street, the current sidewalk is immediately adjacent to the curb. There's no landscaped strip in between, making it very difficult to walk on that stretch. It feels very unsafe. So the applicant has electively, so they're not required to, but they are going to be improving that whole sidewalk and bringing the sidewalk from the right-of-way into private property and providing an easement to the city for access on that sidewalk. And then they're going to be adding street trees in between the sidewalk and the curb as well. So regarding the photometric plan, they already submitted a photometric plan, but it did have this language that the photometric evaluation is not for construction. So that's why I put as a condition of approval that they do apply with final lighting plan with the specifications for the lighting that's being proposed and the photometrics plan, which is what you see here, indicating the foot candle measurements on site. And then the architecture team has also completed elevation drawings indicating compliance with our facade standards, which include a lot of glazing. So you can see how all elevations include a lot of glazing complying with the zoning ordinance. And the building is pretty varied in terms of materials and push and pulls to break that facade and not create, straight facades. This is the elevation on Palmer Street, and you can see how there is a public entrance onto Palmer Street, which is a requirement of the zoning ordinance. So pedestrians are not having to go onto parking lots to access the building. It's actually in fronting the street. And this is the east elevation, which basically will be in fronting the house right next door. So it will be set back beyond the driveway, and that's the facade that's going to be the side facade. The applicant has shown this picture as well, just to ask if we would allow a shed like this as an enclosure, a type of enclosure for their waste. So they submitted that to us. And then going through all the requirements, I did not see any issues with the ones that you see here on this slide. And I'm going to stop when there is an underline, which are the times in which I saw an inconsistency and have a condition of approval. Here again, building standards all cleared. More building standards since it's a new build, so you have all those rules that we have to look for. Regarding private landscaping, the site plan shows the first lot layer exceeding the minimum 30% landscaping requirement, which is great. So there's more landscaping than required. The landscaping plan shows street trees within the street, the three right-of-ways, but it does not show the area where the building is set back further than 15 feet, complying with 1 tree per every 50 feet. So we both require trees between sidewalk and curb, and we require trees between sidewalk and building facade if the building is set back more than 15 feet, which it is. Therefore, I have that as a condition of approval to comply with that rule. Next, off-street loading, storage, drive-through, trash receptacles requirement. The proposed garbage shed does not clarify if the space will accommodate waste and recyclable materials. So the applicant will need to provide more information regarding their waste management and if recyclable materials will be stored within the shed or within the building. The recycling is a requirement for every type of use in the city of Mount Pleasant. It is a requirement in the city code, aside from being a requirement in zoning ordinance. Lighting, I already mentioned lighting, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. So we have that as a condition as well. Regarding public comments, as I mentioned, we've received a total of 64 letters in opposition delivered today. The letters were sent by email and are placed at the dais. So the staff analysis is that the redevelopment of this site as an important corner of Mount Pleasant will be helpful. It has remained vacant for a long time, so we're looking forward to see the site redeveloped. It will utilize city resources more efficiently through an infill development in an area with existing infrastructure. Provide a design of a gas station that is more pedestrian friendly. Improve the streetscape of all street frontages, but especially improving the sidewalk along Pickard. Providing convenience and food market option to the surrounding neighborhood residents. And create 20 new jobs in Mount Pleasant. And new employees will be split in through 3 shifts. Therefore, the amount of proposed parking seems to be sufficient to accommodate staff and customers. So the staff recommendation is for the Planning Commission to approve SUP-25-09 and SPR-25-05, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall submit a revised site plan with final sidewalk layout approved by the City Engineering Department. B, a revised landscaping plan showing 4 trees within the front lot layer along Palmer and another 2 trees within the front lot layer along Main Street. C, a revised photometric plan. The lighting installer shall certify lighting values at or below the values shown on the final compliant plan prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the Building Safety Department. 2, the applicant shall submit more information regarding waste management showing compliance with one of the following. A, the proposed garbage shed shall include a dumpster or roll carts for recyclable materials, or B, space within the building shall be reserved for the storage of recyclable materials until collection by a commercial hauler. 3, the applicant shall comply with the additional requirements of public safety, building safety, and public works. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for Ms. Plowie-Dykel?
2 quick questions. Do you know if they're going to be using dimmable LED lighting? And why specifically do they need a special use?
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the lighting. Maybe they can answer to that question. Regarding the SUP, so every gas station requires a special use permit in Mount Pleasant if they're being placed on the mixed use district, in this case, City 4.
Okay, so it's only because it's a mixed use district.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
I had a couple questions too. You had mentioned that they wouldn't be open in the evening. Do you know what hours they're proposing to be open?
Yes, I can find that information here. So it's going to be 6 a.m. to midnight. So they're going to be closed from midnight to 6 a.m.
I have a follow-up question to that. If they decided down the road to be open 24 hours, is there any type of ordinance that would prevent that?
No.
Okay. And then I also had a question around the timeline of the project. Do you happen to?
I'm not sure. Hopefully the applicant can shed a light on that question.
I had another one, Manuela.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So the driveway on Palmer, is that absolutely necessary for trucks to get in and out of there?
It was hard to configure with the truck turns. It was very difficult. I think with the building location and building size that we require, it was a tight site.
Thank you.
Was there any like community engagement or anything done before? Like with the neighborhood surrounding the site?
No, I don't believe the applicant has discussed with the neighbors. Maybe they can speak about that. The way it works with public hearings, we are required to notify the residents within 300 feet of the site. So residents have been notified according to state law through mail, and we also place the land use sign on the property. So once people are walking by, they know that there's a land use action coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, seeing none. If the applicant is here and would like to speak and present your case, please come to the podium.
So the applicant is online.
Okay.
So I'm going to give the cue for Mac TV to put them on the screen. Seth, you can go ahead.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Seth Mayatek. I work for Wickwire PC. We're the engineering consulting firm for Chris Doyle that has been working on the project with them. We are just applying today because we've been looking at this property for a long time within the city. I've been working with Manuela for the past 3 or 4 months on developing a site plan that the city would find acceptable. We feel that the development here is going to boost the local economy and really stir more development in the area. It's going to redevelop a currently vacant lot, as Manuela said, right in the downtown area of Mount Pleasant, right as people are entering the main street. It's going to provide local products to the local community, such as food, drink, gasoline. The lighting in the city the lighting in the store area has been designed in a way to limit light escaping the lot. We've used fencing and landscaping to shield that residential lot adjacent to the property to shield the residential area from any light. The lights on the property are going to be LED directional downlighting to also limit some light pollution from the area. At the Chris Doyle stations, there is no music played or intercoms from the canopies, so there is no noise disruption of the nearby neighborhood whatsoever. During the construction of the project, the city sidewalks would be maintained or replaced as necessary to develop the driveways to the site. And as Manuela said, I worked with her on designing the site in a way to make the sidewalk along Pickard meet the city's streetscape requirements, and that would be a part of the project that Chris Doyle is willing to include. One thing that Manuela, I was mistaken on my application. The hours of operation for the store would be from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., not 12 a.m. And the store would never look to change their hours to 24 hours, 24-hour openings. And then Manuela and I had spoken. I sent in a phase one environmental study to her as part of the application, which did find some contamination on the site. But as part of the process of the project, if it was approved here tonight, we would move into a phase 2 environmental study to further examine the contamination on site, and the site would be cleaned up completely as part of the project. That would be part of their development would be to decontaminate the site. And another question that was brought up regarding timeline for the project, they would be planning to perform the demolition on site after the first of this year, or after the first of the year this coming winter, with development of the property following that. And if the commission has any other questions for me, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you. Do any members of the planning commission have questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have one. Just kind of reading through everyone's letters, I see, a lot of common themes for concerns from the public. I guess in your experience, have you may not know this, you may not, but for noise complaints, I mean, in your experience, have these locations created a lot of disturbance and loud noises in the area?
No, not in our experience with operating these stores and getting new developments up and running. I think that there might be concerns about that at a lot of locations, and then once the stores are up and running, it turns out that a majority of the time there is never any issues as far as noise once the store is operational.
Thank you.
I have an additional question. So you mentioned the existing site there's some existing contamination on the site. Are there environmental plans to mitigate any potential future contamination or emissions issues?
So there would the future potential for contamination is minuscule. It's almost nothing. The tanks they use for fuel storage are certified by the state of Michigan and other governing bodies. They're double walled to ensure that there are no leaks. They're regularly maintained. So the risk for future contamination is next to nothing with these developments.
Seth, would you like me to jump in and answer this question?
Yes, sure. I have a member of Crystal Oil here also.
Hi, my name is Casey. I'll be acting as the general contractor if this project was to come to fruition. As far as the environmental contamination on the site, our goal is to clean that site up to the optimal state standards. Whatever the DNR and the other associated industries advise us to do once that contamination is discovered, we're fully equipped to follow that protocol. As far as the environmental safeguards that are in place, it's going to be a double wall system, meaning double wall tanks, double wall spill containment underneath all penetrations, double wall pipe. It's continuously monitored. It is so no matter at any given time, there's sensors in the tank that are monitoring contamination levels. And even if there were a failure of the primary layer, it goes into the secondary layer and alarms go off where we're compelled to react to that. It's maintained. It's audited by not only the state every 3 years, but we're required annually to go in and perform different tightness tests to prove that the system is 100% integral. So as far as future contamination, there's very, very minimal risk that these systems work. They've been in place for the better part of 15 years, and no notable issues with them. Even states have adopted those regulations and forced operators to convert over to these things with new development and existing developments. So it's a very, very safe system. In addition to that, the stormwater, if there's any type of surface spills, there's going to be a secondary leak. It's going to have a oil water separator installed. That oil water separator is going to make sure that none of that contamination enters the groundwater or the earth. So I think as far as an environmental perspective, I think it's going to better the site and safeguard the community in the future.
Thank you, Casey. Could you, for the record, please state your full name?
My name is Casey Atanasoff.
Okay, thank you.
That brought up another question that I have. You had mentioned before that you've done some environmental testing already at the site, and you found contaminants. Can you tell us what those were?
I don't have the exact contaminants in front of me at the moment. It was done as part of a phase 1 environmental study. We enlisted Mackinac Environmental out of Petoskey to perform those. I believe the previous use of this was like a hardware store for the oil field equipment from the oil fields in Mount Pleasant. The current owner believes that there were some spills there at some point during when it was in use as that hardware store and maintenance shop. As part of the project moving forward, a phase 2 environmental study would be done to further flesh out what those contaminants actually are.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. I will now open up public comment for comments related to this proposal. And just as a friendly reminder, we welcome our community to come up and you come to the podium to please speak your full name and your address, and that there is a limit for one speaking time per proposal and a limit of a maximum of 5 minutes. And just for understanding of how the public speaking works is that we very much do want to hear your, your thoughts and your concerns and your, your interest in this project. But please understand that this is not a dialogue, that we will hear you, but we will not be commenting or answering questions. Okay? Okay.
Hello, my name's Alicia Horman. I live at 113 East Palmer Street with my mother and my brother. So I have a lot of concerns about this going up right there. Living there my whole life, this is the only place I know. I have grown up in Mount Pleasant my whole life at 113 East Palmer Street, and I have always seen that building vacant, and I've always wished something to go into it. But I'm really concerned with it being a gas station. With knowing the area, even though we are adjacent to a police station, all that, I have had many friends who have gotten in severe trouble around that area. I'm not sure if a gas station coming helps that out, as long as bringing in the gas and the convenience and the food. I don't believe we need that. Down the road, there's a Citgo, there's a Meyer gas station, and right there, there's the empty keg. So I would love, love, love to see something go right there, but I am not interested in seeing a gas station go there. I live with a deaf dog who I'm very concerned about something happening to. I have black cats or stigmas. I have a lot of animals. We have a lot of family. And with the destruction of the building, I'm concerned of how that'll affect my house. The property lines are very close between each other. When you see on the sketches and you look at the pavement, that is this close to my house. So I'm concerned for the parking with my cars. We have 3 cars in that driveway, and we all fit in our own driveway. But if there's semis going through, there's already that tire shop that's down the road with semis down. How am I going to be able to access the road to go to my house? Or even when it's being built, how can I access my house and go inside? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Horman. I live at 113 East Palmer. I'm going to keep it short. My daughter pretty much got it to the point. We are not looking forward to a gas station there. We would love to see some improvement there. That'd be great. But a gas station, I think, is just going to bring all sorts of stuff to the neighborhood that we don't need. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 3 additional ones.
Okay, if you'd like to bring them over to our staff. Yes,
My name is True Mashinsky, and I live at 721 North Fancher. I am on the corner of Palmer and Fancher. I'm very concerned. Our area is the old North End. It's historic. Palmer Street has always protected the outline of the city of the old North End. Main Street also up to Mission and Broadway. I'm concerned about traffic. when Mission and Pickard were having their corners redone, we ended up with a taste of the influx of people using our street as a service drive, semis included, to get to where they needed to be. And it was congested. It was noisy. There was additional litter. We do not need a gas station. I realize something needs to be done with the old trains building, but something other than a gas station. The area that we live in, they're starter homes. Palmer Street, Bennett Street, as I walked to talk to my neighbors, and we do know our neighbors. It's not a neighborhood that you go into and you don't know who lives around you. I'm fortunate to live in an area where we know the block or the block across the street, and we're there for each other. In the neighborhood on Palmer and Bennett, we had 4 new families that moved in, young married people. They've had their first child, these 4 people individually on between Bennett and Palmer, 3-month-old kids, 4-month, 6-month. They're happy to be in the neighborhood. We have a very, very quiet neighborhood. The old adage of saying the streets roll up, 9 o'clock, our neighborhood is quiet. You have kids that might be riding their bikes. You have neighbors that are walking their dogs. People stop and talk to one another. You meet new people. It's the same, we recognize our neighbors. So a gas station would be detrimental to our neighborhood, because when Palmer Street will get all that extra traffic, what will happen is then Bennett will be the street that has to hold the old north end. And then when more commercialism comes through, then where does it stop? And you're going to lose really decent homeowners, that they're affordable homes, they're smaller homes, and these are starter families, and they want to be in the neighborhood. And I ask each and every one of you, I don't mean to drive by and look at the old Trains Corner. We're aware that Trains Corner has protected our neighborhood. We realize you do need to put something there, but it needs to be something that is low impact. My question is, and I know you can't answer me, but I know you drive, but walk through our neighborhood. Walk down, all the way down to Kinney School on Palmer Street. Meet the neighbors. Do Bennett, do Fancher, Lansing, Franklin, University. These are people that take pride in their homes. We have landlords that are there that make affordable housing for people. They take care of their yards. So please reconsider what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure where I'm supposed to face. I'm Kathleen Martin, and I live at 401 East Palmer Street, 3 blocks from the post office, 3 blocks from the building. I just learned about this whole development plan 2 days ago. I'm horrified. If I'd have had a little bit more time, I could have prepared something just a little bit more coherent. But this is a quiet neighborhood. If you think that it's not going to destroy the old North End by putting in a gas station and convenience store, you are delusional. There'll be a whole lot more traffic going by. We have plenty already on Pickard We don't need more on Palmer. We've got young children that just pop out in the middle of the street. I mean, they're kids, that's what they do. But the foot traffic that will be increased by having a convenience store there is going to increase. We already have trash thrown in our yards all the time. Every week, sometimes daily, I have to go out and pick up cans or slushy cups. It's ridiculous, but it's going to be way worse if they are going for a convenience store. It also means that there'll be more foot traffic of kids that probably shouldn't be in the neighborhood wandering. We have enough problem with that as it is. You're not going to put in a speaker for music. That's lovely. Do you think that these cars that go through aren't going to have their music on? It'll be loud. The neighborhood will be disturbed. It's already loud when the motorcycles go down Palmer Street with their music blasting. They travel, it's 25 miles an hour. They travel through there at least 40, if not faster, from Fancher, making it all the way to Main Street. They don't even look at the yield signs. Somebody's going to get killed. And if there's more traffic, the chances of that is increasing. Yes, that building's been an eyesore. It has been neglected. It hasn't been maintained or taken care of, but a gas station is not the answer. We have 7 gas stations within a half mile on the corners. It'll put the empty keg out of business. There's no way. There's a business that has been there a long time. It's not right. If you want a good spot to put in a gas station, go down to Lincoln and Pickard. There's an empty lot down there that might be better suited. We do not, absolutely do not need a gas station at that corner. It's a bad idea. And I don't know why the neighbors weren't notified about this. You indicated that the neighbors had letters sent out. No, they didn't. Absolutely not. So bravo for keeping this a well-kept secret. I am appalled.
Hi, my name is Norma Bailey. I live at 222 East Andre, so I don't live on Palmer. But when I heard about it, I felt that I wanted to speak my mind also, because I walk those neighborhoods. I'm an older person with a dog. I walk those constantly, morning, afternoon, evenings, see lots of kids, see lots of dogs, see lots of people. I stop and talk. I heard that this was going to be an entryway entering into the downtown off of Pickard down to Main Street. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. People can gas up down at the Citgo, they can gas up down at the Speedway, but I just don't understand why that decision, even though I understand that that's an eyesore. I've walked by that eyesore for 25 years and keep on saying, I wish somebody would do something with that, but I don't think that a gas station is the right answer because of all the things that these people have said will occur. So thank you for your time.
Good evening, I'm John DeQuilla. I live at 219 Bennett. It's about 2 blocks from the proposed site of the Chris gas station. Like some of my neighbors have said, I heard nothing about this till 3 days ago. I don't know, contacting the local community about some kind of development like this. Baloney. That's what can I say about that? I have no time to really prepare for this. I could prepare for this a lot better, and sound more concise than you have. And you, as for oil separation from non-point runoff pollution that this station will have, it has been proven that benzene contamination is going to continue to go into the ground soil. Do you even know what non-point water pollution is, runoff water pollution? I have a Bachelor of Science degree in National Science with resource development. I'm also a registered nurse, been working with in human health for 40 years. Like I said, I wish I had a lot more time to this. Let's talk about some of these problems. I'm reading about special usage conditions. They're talking about as long as the surrounding usage within 300 feet of the proposed site is not, anything past that is not going, is, I guess, just not considered, 300 feet past the end of the property, as long as, it's not going to upset the neighborhood, then it's going to be fine. Well, the neighborhood goes a lot further than 300 feet. And there's things here that you talk about that are in the proposal that, are not limited by 300 feet, 600 feet, 6,000 feet. The noise, we've talked about the noise already. I don't think the police department reinforces noise ordinances in this town. It's insane. The loud noises we have in this neighborhood. Is a beautiful neighborhood. My house, the original part of my house was built in 1868. And there's beautiful homes in this neighborhood, and it's a family neighborhood, and there's children out. Now you say, well, this gas station is going to be, up in that corner, and it's going to be out of sight, and the lights, you talked about the lights. There's a lot more to it. The odors, the hydrocarbons that are escape constantly when anyone comes in and fills up their cars. I talked to you about the benzene pollution, which is not going to be controlled by your oil separation system. The transient traffic is ridiculous. Motorcycles, loud trucks, people who aren't from the neighborhood. We don't need that. Now, the corner needs maybe some development, though I see that ivy, the ivy on the side of the building that stands there, and I see that as a nice cushion, just like True was saying. It's a nice buffer on that corner for our neighborhood. And that part of Pickard is not that developed. It is actually really quite nice compared to heading east on Pickard, where it looks horrid. Or how about Mission? You want an ugly gas station like this? And this odious gas station, I saw the one that was built out Pickard, east on Pickard, and you got more concrete there than a football field. And we don't need that here. You want that? Put that crap down on Mission, south on Mission, where that horrible sprawl is. What do you want Mount Pleasant to look like? Some kind of ugly, suburb of Flint or something? You got these beautiful old neighborhoods, these Victorian homes. You got these family areas. We really don't need. What do you want? A 18th gas station in this town? I'm kind of upset about this. I really am. To the point that if this continues, I'm going to start protesting. At the construction site. Put together the community, and we'll close this down if the city commissions don't think they've got the guts to do it. Thank you. Oh, and this is a 65th letter of opposition. Who would like it? It's the primary proposed by myself.
Hi, my name is Brenda Dzelski. I live at 722 North Lansing, and the side street is Palmer. I'm here to tell you, it took me 3 years to get a flag at that intersection because people would run it every day. And somebody's gonna get smugged and you add more traffic, it's horrendous. I'm here to tell you. I moved here from Traverse City to work at the state home. It was a quiet town. And when I go home to Traverse and see all the changes that are made all the time, it's not fun, it's not pretty. And that's what this is making me think of. If that's the gateway to downtown, then put a statue or a monument saying, welcome to Mount Pleasant. Why do we need a gas station? As far as I'm concerned, it's a holy mess, and I moved down here and I enjoyed it, but if that comes in, I'm seriously thinking about moving, and I will go back home. That's all I have to say. We just don't need it in our neighborhood.
Hello, my name is Rich Swindlehurst again at 110 West Michigan. I just, I guess, have a little bit differing take on it and would like to speak in support of the project. I've seen that eyesore of a site there for decades, living in this community, and I guess I just want to caution that I don't think that there's a whole long list of lineup of better opportunities coming. And I commend the staff's efforts on producing a project that not only meets but exceeds the standards required in our community. Thank you.
Okay,
My name is Dan Herrera, 113 East Bennett Street. I've lived there for going on 10 years, and I live right in the corner of Bennett and University. And there's a lot of people that walk their dogs and walk their kids in carriages and stuff like that. People running up and down Bennett Street and University. There's people that come from this courthouse that takes walks down University, because I see them every day. They walk down the street all the way to Piggott and back. And with traffic going through there, it's gonna be hard for anyone to be going out for walks and running and walking a dog and their kids and stuff. So, and I do the same thing there too. I walk around the block and stuff like that, you know? But I just want to say, just I'm opposed to having a gas station there because it's gonna congest the area, because you got the mailbox, the post office right there. And that's gonna be a congested area right there, going into Pickard and Maine. That road is not gonna be big enough for all the traffic going into the gas station and coming out on Main Street. So they'll start cutting through the neighborhoods. So I really don't think that's a good idea to put a gas station there. Thank you.
okay, seeing no further public. Oh, okay.
My name's Chloe Mercer, and I used to live in the North District anyway, my current address is in Bamber Woods, 1840 Woodland Drive. I also own a piece of land out on the Chippewa. No one's really thought about the impact that this is gonna have on the Chippewa River. It's gonna be the closest gas station to the Chippewa of any of the others in town. The ramifications that could have, there's a lot of children that play in the Chip, Island Park's right down the road. I guess I would just encourage all of you to think about the environmental impact it might have, not only on the direct buildings and things like that, but the people that live here, the kids that play in that water, the kids that are, floating down the river in the summer, canoeing with their parents, fishing, all these things that are going to definitely be impacted. Having something that close to a major source like that is just something that I think deserves a little more consideration than 20 minutes of anyone's time. Thanks.
And no one else here in person? Are there anyone from the public online?
I don't see anyone online with the hand raise feature nor on email.
Thank you. I will close public comment and open discussion. And as we enter into this discussion time, I just want to do a friendly reminder of that I'm very thankful, and I think we all are very thankful for our public, to our community, to make your voices heard and share your thoughts and your concerns of support and opposition, and just and letting us know how you feel about this project. And that being said, I do want to do a friendly reminder also with our commission that as we are moving into discussion, that per state law, our job as the planning commission is to make sure that we are making our decision on whether this proposal does or does not meet compliance. And our decision is not based on our personal opinions. So with that understanding,
Bless you.
we'll open discussion.
I will want to say that that corner, Main and Pickard should be a prime corner, but nobody has touched it for 25 years. It's been an economic wasteland for 25 years. I so badly want to vote for this, but 65 to nothing, that's hard to argue with. Myself, I'm going to vote no. But the people should realize they might be stuck with that corner empty for another 25 years.
Can I ask a question, a follow-up question that popped in my head as I was listening to people? Um, I understand the reason for needing the one-way exit onto Palmer. Is there, but it's primarily supposed to be for the like trucks, I'm assuming delivery trucks. Could there be like a gate put there that with like an electronic opening so that the only time that exit onto Palmer would be for trucks? Is there further anything else that we can do or that could be done to mitigate that effect on Palmer, that traffic effect?
So, yeah, so we did ask the applicant to do a right turn only. So basically would have to exit out of Palmer and then go to Main Street and then take the signal to go east or west of town. Or obviously can go north, south on Main. The only thing I can think of to make sure that folks comply with that right turn is to really design that opening in a way that does not allow a left turn. But the applicant is already committed to put signage, not a way in, it's only way out, and it's only right turn. But I haven't seen any projects with gates or anything like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm leaning towards voting yes for this for three big reasons. It meets the standards. It's a development of an area of a parcel that's been undeveloped. And I'm concerned that anytime we have a development project now, we have huge amounts of people coming from in or outside of that neighborhood to object to something. And now we're going to be shutting down development opportunities. I don't want to get to the point where we now are in the habit of just shutting everything down that meet standards, that meet the requirements that we've set forth in our plans and in our discussions as a community. So I'd like to hear if other people have comments adjacent to that.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that sentiment. I do appreciate everyone's candor here today. Obviously, we had a lot of, I can tell this is a tight-knit community. 60-some letters in opposition. And I appreciate everyone's time over here, but this does meet the criteria. I understand everyone's concerns, but I believe the engineers and everyone involved will make sure that, hopefully we'll quell these concerns and there will be no accidents and noise complaints. And so that is why I'm going to vote yes on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve SUP-25-09 and SPR-25-05, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall submit a revised site plan with final sidewalk layout approved by the city engineering department. B, a revised landscaping plan showing 4 trees within the front lot laying along Palmer Street and another 2 trees within the front lot laying along Main Street. C, a revised photometric plan. The lighting installer shall certify lighting values at or below the values shown on the final compliant plan prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the building safety department. 2, the applicant shall submit more information regarding waste management showing compliance with one of the following. A, the proposed garbage shed shall include a dumpster or rolled cart for recyclable materials, or B, space within the building shall be reserved for the storage of recyclable materials until collection by a commercial hauler. And 3, the applicant shall comply with the additional requirements of building safety, and public works.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed. Opposed?
Roll call?
Uh, do we need a roll call with, it was 2 opposed with? Okay,
Yes, please.
okay. Will you please call a roll call vote? Yes.
Commissioner Devaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Farley,
Aye.
Commissioner Friedrich,
Aye.
Havels,
Aye.
Irwin,
Nay. Nay.
Kingsworthy,
Aye.
Leash, absent, Martinez,
Nay.
Ortman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
yes. The next item on our agenda is public hearing for Z 2501. It's a request to rezone the properties for CD4, a general urban character district, to CD5, urban center character district. Ms. Povidico, if you could please introduce the item?
Yes, if MacTV could put the PowerPoint on the screen and then I'll start. Thank you so much. The applicant New Yelamarty on behalf of Great Lakes Bay Properties LLC is applying for rezoning from CD4 General Urban Character District to CD5 Urban Center Character District for the 2 parcels located at 221 West Michigan. The parcels are currently vacant. Previously, there was a building that was used by a beauty shop and a resale sporting goods store. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant plans to build a mixed-use building with space for office and retail uses on the ground floor and 4 stories of residential uses on top with approximately 16 dwelling units. This is an image of the site's location. The land uses and zoning of the surrounding property are as follows on the slide. On the north, we have a vacant building. On the east side, we have a vacant building. Owner uses for storage. On the south side, there is a single-family home. And on the west side, a multiple family building. The future land use designation for the whole area is mixed use. Sorry, on the north side is mixed use high, and then the surrounding sites are mixed use medium. The zoning is CD5 for the north side and with the residential dwelling unit restriction, and CD4 for the surrounding sites. The subject property is viewed from the corner of Michigan and Pine looking southwest. You can see how we have streetscape and it's a vacant parcel, and you can see the building that's vacant sitting right behind the vacant parcel. And here the subject property is viewed from West Michigan looking southwest to the alleyway. The alleyway is currently not paved, it's gravel, and you can see here what it looks like today. So regarding the rezoning designation, we can see here how it's currently zoned CD4. CD4 limits development to no more than 2 stories, and it allows for mixed-use developments, residential or commercial-only developments. And then the rezoning request is to do CD5 and allow the building to go up to 5 stories, similar to Broadway Lofts that you see here next to City Hall. So this is the rezoning map proposal. So you can see a little bit more regarding the adjacency of the surrounding sites and zoning designations. So CD5 would be at the corner of Michigan and Pine, and across the street is where we have other CD5 designations. So any rezoning must meet criteria for the map amendment that's being proposed. So these are the criteria that the applicant has provided answers to. And then I read the criteria, and then based on the responses of the applicant, I do see that the applicant is consistent with the list of criteria in the zoning ordinance. And these are the other ones that are noted here. And as you can see, the Planning Commission or City Commission subsequent to the Planning Commission review could have other factors that they would like the applicant to tackle as part of the application. So we place none at this time since it's under review right now. Regarding the master plan, this is the document that guides us through any rezoning request. Basically, the way it works is if any applicant calls city staff and proposes a rezoning that's inconsistent with the master plan, I tend to say that we are not going to support it because it's likely going to get a denial. When we do have applicants that proposed rezoning that is in alignment with the master plan, that's when I take the project forward to the planning commission and make sure that the applicant has a complete application to support the application. So in this case, the master plan calls for those sites as mixed-use medium designation. Under Book 1, Sustainable Land Use, you can see how the future land use map gets assigned specific zoning districts. For mixed-use medium, so you know that all mixed-use designated areas are split into low, medium intensity, and high intensity. For medium intensity, we do have the option to have CD4 or CD5 as its zoning designation. On Book 3, Focus Redevelopment, we have further goals that I thought were related to this case. So the first one is regarding focusing our efforts to reduce the vacancy and urban utilization of properties in downtown Mount Pleasant, where we have obviously a lot of infrastructure that's already built, it's centrally located, and easy access of residents and the broader community. It also asks that we focus on downtown success and growth by increasing the number of people living and visiting downtown, which this project proposal to add more stories on the mixed-use building is only going to be able to have an increase in residential units and therefore residents in downtown Mount Pleasant. As I mentioned, CD4 limits developed to 2 stories, so CD5 would allow the city to better achieve its goals. So through the analysis, staff finds the proposed conditions are consistent with the character of the area and with the future land use identified in the master plan. First, the new mixed-use building will help activate this portion of downtown that has not seen much investment within its surrounding blocks. 2, the residential units will add much-needed housing in downtown, particularly to those seeking smaller units in a more urban walkable setting. So those could be seniors, single-person households, which we're seeing an increase. It's a trend, not just here in Mount Pleasant, but everywhere in the nation. And then as well as graduate students who I've been hearing a lot from CMU and the other colleges, they tend to not want to live in apartments with other students. They tend to have and want a quiet space. Some of them have families too. So this could be a good option, especially for those who do not own a vehicle. Residents will contribute to the local economy, bringing more clients to existing businesses. And new retail and office spaces that will be provided as part of the mixed-use building will help offer opportunities to existing businesses to expand, relocate, and would also provide options for new retail owners and service providers to locate within downtown if they choose to do so. So with the findings and analysis in the report that was shared with the Planning Commission, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommends that the City Commission approves Z-25-01. And this is an image of the proposed ordinance that goes together with the rezoning application. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Planning Commission have questions for Ms. Polvi-Dykel? Okay, seeing none. If the applicant is here, you would like to speak? Thank you. Please state your name and your address.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Neil Yalamarthi. I'm based in Saginaw, Michigan, 3766 Nugget Creek. I'm the developer and owner of this project. I'll keep it quick, but been working on this concept with Manuela and her staff for the past couple months and very excited about it. I think this has the opportunity to fill a lot of the housing needs, commercial needs downtown, and just serve the broader purpose of, helping bring more economic activity and revitalization to the area. Manuela has my contact information. If anyone needs to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to chat about this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. I will now open public comment for any comments related to this case.
Not to bother you guys with all of my time here, but
Could please restate your name.
my name is Rich Swindlehurst at 110 West Michigan. I'm also own the neighboring property to the north and would like to speak in support of this project. It's been a vacant lot for quite some time, and the proposed plan, similar to the building just west of here, I think would be fabulous to be added to our downtown neighborhood. Thank you.
I don't see any more people from the audience in person. Is there anyone online?
No one is online.
Thank you. I will close public comment and open discussion.
I move to recommend that the city commission approve Z 2501.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is public hearing for Z 2502, request to rezone the property from CD3, a suburban character district, to CD4, general urban character district with residential dwelling use only designation. Ms. Pavadiko, if you could please present.
The applicant, Scott E. Bell, on behalf of Laffin Associates, is applying for a rezoning from CD3 Suburban Character District to CD4 General Urban Character District with the residential dwelling use only special requirement for the parcel located at 1104 East Chippewa Street. And just to clarify and pause, the proposal is not to allow commercial uses on this parcel. I noticed that some of the communications referred to that. So this will be a residential only rezoning. The current use for the property is a single-family residence. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant will be proposing to demolish the house and build a development similar to Palmer Place with multiple fourplexes on the property. So the land uses and zoning of the surrounding premises are as follows. As you can see here, the whole area is on CD3 Suburban Character District, and the light yellow on the east side is Large Suburban Character District, CD3L. On the north of the property, you have a fourplex and a single-family home. On the east, there is an office, Central Michigan Care. On the south, multiple family complex and a single-family house. And then onto the west, a house and an accessory dwelling unit. And the future land use designation on the north is residential, and then both east, south, and west are basically this whole block where the site is located. And again, the master plan flags it for missing middle housing development. So the CD4 rezoning is consistent with the master plan. Regarding the rezoning designation, as you know, right now we have the parcels on CD3, Suburban Character District, which basically allows for single-family homes, and then duplexes or accessory dwelling units pursuant to a special use permit. When mentioning the surrounding uses of the site, there are a few triplexes, duplexes, ADUs, some of which, all of them have been built prior to the ordinance. And so there are some that are existing non-conforming structures today. The rezoning to CD4 will continue to be limited to residential due to the special requirement that's also being proposed. And the change is into the residential typologies that can be built. So aside from residential, you could do duplexes as of right, accessory dwelling units as of right, and then multiple family dwellings as of right. All of those are trying to reach what we call the missing middle housing typologies. So anything between single family and multiple family buildings will be able to be built, including townhomes, fourplexes, triplexes, etc. So this is what the map looks like, the rezoning of the parcel from CD3 to CD4. While all the surrounding parcels, although flagged in the master plan for the CD4 designation, are not being proposed as part of this application because this applicant obviously can only propose a rezoning on their own site. If the city would like to undertake a rezoning of the whole block, that is something that would be consistent with the master plan. And another thing to mention is that it's not considered spot zoning. All right. So regarding the criteria for map amendment, again, the applicant has provided information about each one of these criteria, and it is compliant. And again, there is no additional requirements of the Planning Commission at the time of the application, therefore none at this time. Regarding the master plan, here you can see what the map looks like. Our future land use map that has been adopted in 2020 flagged this whole block for attached residential designation in the map. So everything that you see in orange is eligible. And the future land use designation in Book 1, Sustainable Land Uses, is city site. And then we have a house, and then this is the home that has, 3 dwellings basically in one parcel. Yeah, and this is the parcel in question. So this configuration of this large block with really deep, long lots is very unique in Mount Pleasant, and that's my indication of the reason why the consultants and my predecessor, previous city planner, selected this whole block for a rezoning, because it is a good area for infill that can actually achieve greater density than elsewhere. For example, one could not do a subdivision and include several single-family homes due to both law width minimums that we have, but also subdivision laws that have a ratio requirement. You can't create a really long and skinny parcel. It's against the legislation. So you can't add density elsewhere or in another way, basically, on this parcel.
Okay, any further questions for Ms. Polvideko? Okay, at this time, does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Okay. All right, now I will open for public comment, for comments related to this case. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, please come to the podium and speak your name and your address. And as before, we limit speaking to once per proposal, and you have a 5-minute maximum.
Thank you. My name is Megan Moreno. I live at 201 North Brown Street, a property that my husband and I have owned since 2007. We are both lifelong residents of Mount Pleasant. Myself, essentially born and raised here through Mount Pleasant Public Schools, Central Michigan University, and we have chosen to remain here and to invest our family's life and time here, and have invested in our property, which is our home and has been our home. I have several concerns regarding this, the first of which was very clear in the map, that when we purchased our home, we purchased a home in a neighborhood of primarily single-family residential homes. That's what we're surrounded by. There's a reason why we chose this neighborhood. There's a reason why others who continue to buy and why people remain in this neighborhood is because of the character of the neighborhood, which is largely single-family homes. We do live on a unique block. It's very appealing. It's very nice, and we would like to keep it that way. Additionally, the construction of a 5 buildings of apartments directly behind our property, which is to the east at the south end. So what is currently the open green space would then be altered to 20 units of dwellings and 40 parking spots. No one is going to buy our house, should we ever decide to move with that compared to what we have now. Additionally, it will affect our property value. So both the viability of future sale, which we don't intend to move, but should this move forward, we might have to rethink that, and we don't want that. It would also increase noise, increase traffic. And like I said, I understand that there's potentially a need for housing and housing in this capacity, but my feeling is that it's at the expense of people that have invested their lives into properties that are our homes. I took the initiative to go around the neighborhood, and yes, it was 12 property owners that signed. I did get signatures from multiple people living in the dwelling, not single owners. But every person that I mentioned this to immediately said, oh no, we don't want that. We don't want that. So the entire neighborhood, I canvassed Brown Street, Chippewa, and Broadway, that whole entire block. And I did not encounter one individual that was in favor of this. And I'm really kind of shocked to hear about the master plan because some people didn't feel they were notified about this request for rezoning. I certainly do not feel that I knew that my entire block and my property is on the master plan to potentially be CD4. And that's a little upsetting to me. And I think we need to maybe look at how these things are communicated. And I understand after listening to the other comments that we have an opportunity to state our concerns, but it seems like they don't carry a lot of weight. I hope that this will, because I do think while we maybe need more housing for some, we should also value the people that have made this their long-term home. This is our community and these are our homes. Thank you.
We survived a truly unfortunate distraction. I'm Chuck Crespi. I live at the east end of that Chippewa neighborhood at 111 Russell Street. It's really a delicate balance trying to build a perfect community and serve the interests of all the constituents who live in it. And we understand that that's a significant dilemma. The challenge we in the Chippewa community face is, much as Megan communicated, we live in basically single-family dwelling units. And then taking, for example, I live in, and many of my neighbors live in 1 acre lots with one house. So to see a 1 acre lot turned into a residence for 20 people in that immediate community with, again, 40 parking spots dramatically changes the nature of the community. That the traffic would absolutely double on that street with 40 houses in there. So there is and Lord knows we appreciate the master plan and the intention of that. But one of the criteria for rezoning is that the effort be profitable for the people who are supporting it. And clearly there are opportunities within CD3 to turn that property into a viable, profitable operation without putting 20 units there, 40 parking spots, and an enormous change in the nature of that community, and still maintain a profitable operation for the sponsor. So that is basically our concern. We believe that there's an opportunity for that program to go forward as CD3 without having to be zoned CD4 and just in a much more modest fashion. And we humbly beseech you to do that. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Chelsea Tenwalde. I live at 1105 East Chippewa, which is directly across the street from 1104. Something that really kind of hit home for me was the future of the area comment. The single residence homes that I see a lot of my neighbors out here, I consider us to be the future of the area. I bought my house in 2012. Didn't have any intentions on headed out anywhere. So I really hope that the future of the area remains single resident homes. Putting an apartment complex in like Palmer Street, is that what it is? Palmer Place. I'm familiar with that area behind Wendy's, Tim Hortons. To me, they don't look like houses. They look like apartment complexes, which if you're a Mount Pleasant resident, you're very familiar with the CMU college side of town. That sure looks like something that belongs in the college side of town. So when you have, people who have lived in these houses for years and years and have no intention on leaving, it just seems extremely out of place for the area. And much like the two previous people said, having 5 buildings with 4 units each at least 20 people. If there's a couple people, 40 people, kids, there's one entrance and exit from that facility, I guess you could call it. And that one exit is directly onto Chippewa Street, which is literally directly from my driveway. We've always felt very safe where we are with traffic. People do drive too fast, but it's, you know, going away from the houses. This is now going to be coming right at our house. So it just seems so out of place to me. Like I kind of mentioned, you have what I think is a distinct, you know, area of campus versus, you know, old school Mount Pleasant. And this is definitely turning it into a very gray area, and it seems very out of place. One other thing that I did want to mention, it seems like there's some people who have talked about rental units and how traditional apartments are maybe, I mean, there's a ton of them here, and people want to be creative about new housing. This just seems like a standard apartment complex. What makes this unique? Why do we need this? Dorm capacity at CMU is down because enrollment's down at CMU. It just seems like we don't need more of the same thing, especially in the area that it's being proposed in. It's going to ruin our neighborhood. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Patty Strong. I've been before this board in the past to protect my property. This time it's down the street the other way. I live at 906 East Chippewa Street. I was hoping Dave Lappin would be here since he's a local to see what the comments are about his proposal. I found out about this development from a Brown Street neighbor 4 days ago. We were floored by the size of this proposed development and not being notified. My husband Max and I have lived at 906 East Chippewa Street for 45 years. He's lived there his entire 74 years. I've been before this body in the past. Our homestead shares a property line with Graff's Mission Street Auto Dealership. I fought battles with the city to protect us from the expansion of the Burger, then Shaheen, then Graff dealerships. Most recently, Graff was allowed to put in a significantly large multi-bay car wash facility on the north side of their building. We had to put up with many months of construction, polluting our land with noise, cement dust that polluted our backyard, including our white pines and garden. And the result of the car wash addition doubled the noise and litter I have to endure daily as I work from home. My husband Max is a third generation owner of our homestead, which originally was a farm on a dirt road. We live on 4 lots. I should mention that. Same size as Darcy Lapsham's property. Our East Chippewa neighborhood is unique in that the south side of the street has several homes with double or quadruple lots that go south around 360 feet, sharing property lines with the Broadway Street homes. There are no fences, and it's a safe place to play and enjoy. We have 4 lots just like Darcy has. Darcy and Dave's father used to play Santa for Max and other neighborhood kids back in the 50s. We have 0 apartment buildings on our street. It's a quiet neighborhood except for the Pixie traffic, which has lots of drivers blaring their engines and music. We still predate that, but I'm cool with it. The 2 duplexes on the north side of Chippewa, about halfway down the block, added 8 to 10 more vehicles a day. But that seemed to be a good use of that property, which used to just have an old cement block building on it that used to be storage for pipelines or something. Our neighborhood does not need 5 apartment buildings on a lot the size of my property. We don't have any C4 properties on East Chippewa Street other than those on Mission Street, none. Michael and Rosemary Gray's apartment building on the southwest corner of Brown and Chippewa, the brick building. I talked to Rosemary earlier today. She's owned that building since 1974. It has 3 apartments. Next to it is an office building that's been a chiropractor or similar business since I've lived there. One guy, where I lost my place here. Oh, one guy said earlier tonight, why have these plans if they're turned down projects that meet all the requirements? Well, I have an answer for that. The city planner claims we're under a rent crisis. I call bullcrap. I don't care if this proposed project crosses the T's and dots the line of a master plan. I don't care if it checks all the planner's boxes. Master plans don't tell you what to do. By the way, I drove by Palmer Court and Palmer Place, and I was disappointed. The building's siding was moldy. I saw a broken window on one of the apartments. It's just not the same situation. Right across the street is the Pickard Street businesses. It's all commercial, not a single residence or apartment building. Nothing like our block. Every single apartment complex has signs on it that say, quote, this condominium for rent. The Planning Commission and city officials need to keep residents informed and listen to us. I don't like, if it wasn't for Mrs. Moreno, I wouldn't even have known about this and I wouldn't be here. And that's wrong. You want to increase density, do it somewhere else.
Patty, I want to thank you for your time. We've met the 5-minute limit.
Ooh, I made it all the way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll get you.
I'm Sally Rose. I live at 301 North Brown. It's the corner of Brown and Chippewa. And I too had hoped that Dave Lapham would be here tonight because I wanted to commend him. In some respects, he was my landlord at one time, and I found him to be very friendly, very thoughtful. But I wish I'd written a letter because I like that much better than public speaking. I've lived at my home for probably 30 years, and I've seen some change when the duplexes went in to replace the really ugly kind of storage facility. But I also wanted to say that I feel like it's like 2 American dreams kind of at cross purposes. The American dream of owning your own home and the American dream of being an entrepreneur. And Dave Lapham is a wonderful entrepreneur. He's done a lot of good for the community. But this is one time where I think, wow, when I saw the plan for 5 buildings, I just was floored. I could not fathom that that would be a good use for that property. I assumed at some point something would happen to it when Darcy died, because it is a wonderful big lot. But I also went to this, a friend went to the census reporter and pulled up some stats because my initial feeling was, wow, don't we have enough apartment buildings in Mount Pleasant? But the census report said of 13,572 units, housing units, the occupancy rate was actually a little bit higher than what I anticipated. The vacancy rate, there are vacancies, and of those units that are occupied, 68% of them are rentals. And I'm thinking there are federal programs, or at least there used to be, for helping young families achieve that goal of owning their own home and having something that they felt like they were really investing instead of plunking all that rent money and having nothing in return. I assume there will be some kind of a compromise, but I really hope that 5 fourplexes is not the solution, because it really is something. When people say there will be more traffic, there will be more noise, why do we need it right there in that specific place? It would be very easy for you to say, yes, it meets the criteria, let's do it, let's go for it. But you're not living there, and I think that's something that is really useful for you to know, that not every place is the right place for 5 additional units with 41 parking spots on a seemingly quiet street. If I could pick up my house and move it off of Brown Street, I would, because I love my house. But Brown Street is a main thoroughfare for everyone that is smart enough not to use Mission. I'm really concerned with what will happen on the other street, Chippewa Street, and I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rosie Gray. I used to live at 913 East Broadway. In 1977, my husband and I bought our first home on Broadway Street, and we lived there for 27 years. Before that, so I have both spectrums of how it is to live there. Before that, we bought the apartment triplex on the corner of Broadway or Brown Street in Chippewa. And we lived in the first floor of that building. That was 51 years ago. We still own it. I know what it's like to be a homeowner and a first-time homeowner. And I also know what it's like to have rental property. I have several rental properties in town. My husband and I own Grace Furniture in downtown Mount Pleasant, and we also have the apartment buildings. I feel so strongly about taking away that safe haven for all the people that live on Broadway, Brown Street, and Chippewa. Because when we lived on Broadway Street, Broadway is a very busy street, and it's even worse now than it used to be. And I remember thinking, what would we do if we didn't have that back lot that was empty? We owned that back lot, we kept it up, and it was our safe haven to get away from everything else that was happening. And you felt like you were almost in the country. When we lived in the apartment building, it was still kind of the same way, because we owned the extra lot between Megan and our apartments. And the people that live in our apartments right now love it because it's a quiet place. We keep it up, and that extra lot that we own, we don't plan ever to build on it. We just wouldn't do that to the community. We wouldn't do that to the neighbors. That lot we've had for 51 years as well. We could have built something on it, but we chose not to, because it would change the whole dynamics of the neighborhood. Just like what they're trying to do with that property that they want to put the 5 buildings on. I think we'll have our first traffic jam in an apartment complex. Because if you're renting that to, I don't know how many people would be living back there, but they would all be young families, and all young families have to have a job. And to try and squeeze all those cars in and out in the morning to go to work, I just can't even imagine it. And I don't even know why anybody would want to take a perfectly great idea and stuff it full of buildings instead of letting that be a green space. I know that it's an easy, well, it isn't easy anymore. It used to be. I mean, 51 years of rental properties, I have a lot of experience with how things are done today because it's not like it used to be. It used to be very easy. We never had to put an ad in the paper to rent any of our properties. They always rented continually. Today, there's so many people I just wouldn't rent to because they don't take care of it. And we have had, and you can check with the city inspectors or the firemen or whoever it is that comes in and inspects. All of our apartments have been totaled by people renting them, and we had to gut every one of them. And so we are just now finishing up with all the remodeling. It's a very tough business to be in, and it's a hard business to keep track of everything. And we don't own a ton of rentals anymore, but even the ones that we still have, it's still hard. Somebody breaks a window, they don't tell you about it, you don't know about it, starts to look bad. I make sure that I go around and tell my tenants constantly, please, if something happens, let me know right away so I can take care of it, because I don't want to look bad for the neighbors either. So to put that many buildings in such a small space and take that away from the community, to have that as a safe haven, to take our green space away and for somebody else to profit. And I look around town and I know that there are so many apartments that are not rented. And I don't know why we need more. I honestly don't know why we need more. It's hard for us to even rent ours. And I'm very particular now because I don't want them to wreck my buildings. I try really hard to give it to them as I wished I had it. But so many times you don't get it back that way. So I just want to say I support the people in that community right now on Broadway, on Brown Street, and on Chippewa. And I hope that before you make a decision, you really think about, what if that was in your backyard? What if that was happening in your backyard? How would you feel? Think about that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Marino. I too live at 201 North Brown Street with my wife. We've lived there for 17 years. 17 years. It's a little home, but it's our home and we love it dearly. It means a lot to us. This is not just where we live, it's our community, it's our lifestyle. What this proposal is doing is taking away all of our lifestyle that we've come to love in our neighborhood. What I'm hearing a lot from the beginning of this proposal was about renters. Renters come and go. What about owners, property owners, of people that have enjoyed a peaceful way of life? It's quiet, it's green, it's beautiful. That lot, what she didn't show in her pictures up there, she showed the house and she showed some of the other buildings around the area. She didn't show my house. My house will go directly up to that property that would have 5 buildings. And let me tell you this, that whole field back there, I don't know how it would fit 5 buildings. If you guys can see this picture, this is a view from my house. This is that field where there'd be all this buildings, 40 parking spots. God knows how many cars, noise, coming at all hours of the night with lights, loud noises. And this thing is, to me, this is about one thing only, profit. He owns property all around town, apartments, all over. This was his brother's property. This is an opportunity for him to make even more profit at no expense to him for buying a piece of land. If you go around town and you look at some of the other properties he owns, they're not very well kept. I don't want to see that in my backyard. I don't think any of my other neighbors want to see that. I look at Sally. I see her all the time out working with her flowers in her garden on Chippewa Street. Sometimes she gets pretty close to the road. That could be very dangerous for her. People that rent these kind of places, they don't pay attention. They don't really even care about who lives around them. But us owners, we care greatly about our lifestyle and our peace of mind. Just, I really hope and pray that that doesn't get taken away from us, because it would be a shameful, shameful thing to do. Thank you.
My name is Sue Yoder. I live at 1001 East Andre. And my concern is I work at Pullen Elementary School. And if you been an apartment complex there's a lot of kids who walk to Pullen and they will be affected by that traffic. Plus, there will be families moving there who will come to Pullen. And right now, Pullen is bursting at the seams. We cannot hold anymore. We are the largest, we have the most population of elementary schools in Mount Pleasant. We have 75 more than the next one closest to us. If you have families come in and they bring their kids and they have to send them to our school, I don't know where we could put them. We don't have the room, and we don't really have enough staff that we'd have to hire more people, which we probably couldn't do right now. So, and that's one problem people have not looked at, is how it would affect the school that is 1 block away. And I see kids walking to school. I drive to school, I go down there, I see the kids walking every day. And all that traffic is going to affect them. And these are kids who only go up to 2nd grade. So they're going to be affected by this. The school will be affected by this. And I just wanted to bring that because no one brought that to anybody's attention, that that's something that could be affected. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Bell. I'm the applicant. I didn't feel a need to step up here before. Well, it did a wonderful job of presenting the argument. Our intent with this property was to provide housing for that missing middle. There's plenty of student housing in this area. Mr. Lapham owns a good deal of that student housing. Market is pretty much saturated. This was intended to be a use of his brother and former partner in all of his apartments. To utilize that land is something that could help build the area and provide housing that's needed. I just wanted to come up here and say that Mr. Lapham is not here because he has me here to represent him. That's what we do at Lapham Associates. I feel that this is a good project for what is in your master plan. It's what is called for there. It's a good area. It's close to schools. It's close to the main road. The intent is to market to younger professional families that are more inclined to walk and ride bikes. Yes, there will be an increase in traffic, no question. With 20 units, there will be multiple cars there. But the point of its location being very close to the downtown, the main district, or the main business district, is that it has close proximity for families to walk to or ride bikes to. The plan that we have proposed is very conceptual. The concept was one that Dave and Darcy both enjoyed, the quadplex with having 2 units on the ground level and 2 units on the upper level. They just felt this was a good spot for that type of a development, and that is why Mr. Lapham has pursued that. And if there were any questions from you, I'd be happy to answer them. But at this time, I'll move it over to the next level. Thank you for your time.
If there's no further public coming up for public comment, then are we at a point that we can check if there's comments online?
Zoom is back. I don't see anybody here, and not on email as well.
Okay. Thank you. Then at this time, I will close public comment and open for discussion.
I'm just gonna say, I am gonna vote against this rezoning because it's quite clear that nobody wants it in the neighborhood. Maybe if at some point the city rezones the whole block so everybody can take advantage of it and sell their property as needed or develop it, but as it stands right now, I'm not gonna vote for this.
Yeah, I share Glenn's concerns, especially since the property in this instance is right in the middle of CD3. If it was on a border where it touched another CD4 or CD5, I think it'd be an easier case to support it. But and the traffic too, I do think that we're out a couple times. I do think that's going to be an issue on that street too. Just, I mean, you're used to a single family home there with just one person or a couple coming out, but potential of 40 cars does seem like an awful lot there. So if the city doesn't want to rezone the whole thing, I also agree with Glenn that the city should do it as a whole block rather than just one in the middle.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I'll just be really transparent. Because I completely empathize with everybody here. And I live very close-ish to this myself. But I also, my background is in housing and affordable housing, and I work every day around and interacting with the numbers around the missing middle housing. And so that is a major concern of mine. And one of the reasons I did join the planning commission, but I have to also concur that this may not be the exact right place for that. So like I said, I'm of two minds on this, but I am also leaning towards not voting to approve this. But I had a question. What happens if we vote to not approve something that's consistent with the master plan? And I apologize, I didn't have that question before now.
So what happens if the planning commission denies this motion?
That is because it's consistent with the master plan that's as is.
So the correct procedure would have been to flag issues with the master plan when the master plan is under review. It currently is, and it was presented to you all, and no changes were required in the future land use map regarding this area. So it is a problem to, a bad precedent to set, to deny a motion that's consistent with the ordinance and policies that have been approved.
May I ask about that? Because doesn't the master plan want the whole block changed? It doesn't particularly want us to do a shotgun approach to it, does it?
It does flag the whole block eligible for CD4, yes. At the same time, it doesn't really, like, the city has to take action, right, on block size or area-wide rezonings. And we just don't have time to do that all at once after the master plan is amended or is adopted. The whole reason behind master plans and future land use maps is to signal to the development community what can go where development-wise. So in this case, we have a future land use map that tells this block, any parcel in this block is good for growth. And so applicants property owners have the right to apply for rezonings on a single parcel by single parcel basis. So we have the issue, right? We have the city of Mount Pleasant, we need housing, and we flag the areas in which we want to transition out of single family, low density to higher density.
So
And this is one of them.
the master plan does not prevent Swiss cheesing of zoning then?
No, so we're getting into spot zoning grounds. Spot zoning would have been if an applicant wants to change a parcel zoning designation inconsistently with the master plan future land use map. If we were to approve something like that, it could be challenged in court. It could be configured as a spot zoning. Anytime there is a single parcel that is eligible for rezoning, applying for the rezoning, it can be approved. It's not spot zoning, it's not inconsistent, it's not
Okay.
incorrect.
And when did we adopt our master plan? Was it
2020. Mhm.
2020?
Yeah.
So it's a pre-COVID master plan that's not really focused on reality anymore.
If that's the case, you could have brought it up when the master plan amendment was presented just a few meetings ago. And if there are massive issues with the master plan and it's not reflective of reality today, then the planning commission should direct staff to change the master plan. And the master plan has been presented. The changes that we have proposed are related to Mission Street, are related to demographics, and are continue to support housing
I did work on
and missing middle.
thingy, so yeah,
Right. So if there's anything else that is not reflective of reality, it should be flagged at that time and not when applicants are coming here and proposing something that complies with the document that has been approved in 2020 with all public outreach and planning commission, city commission support.
I'm just saying it's obvious that as it stands right now, this does not reflect the character of the neighborhood. Is that a valid reason to vote against it?
So no, because zoning is a long-term game. So anytime that we were talking about growth is because we don't have it. So there's always going to be the first larger building that gets built in a low density area. It's always going to be that way. The only difference is which communities have enough connections to be able to shut that down and say not in my backyard, and which communities don't have those resources to be here tonight fighting against apparently a project that's not please them. But the planning commission, I just want to restate that our job as myself, the city planner, and the planning commission is to pass forward policies that have been adopted as a whole community. It's not even my policy. I wasn't even here in 2020. I'm bringing something that has been adopted and again confirmed just a few meetings ago with the master plan amendment process.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to harp on this. I think the applicant said is like meeting in the middle, right? I think we had a case, the school, right? Everyone said, well, we need, that middle class housing, right? So we don't want the school. Well, we have this at our table right here, and now we're saying no. So I'm just having a hard time saying no to this when we've had communities say we want this. Now some communities saying we don't want this. It's in the master plan. It came up a couple meetings ago. We did it. And I get it. Feelings are high. I get it. I really do. But I mean, we're here to plan and grow. And I feel like every meeting here, we just have people saying, no, keep it vacant. And we're just stunting this growth. And that's not what aligns with our planning, our master planning. So.
And that's why I asked the question about the master plan, because that is really kind of a deciding factor for me, is that we have these notices posted regularly on the city website. And anybody has the option to come and submit input on those plans. And it only seems like when something isn't going, that you don't agree with, that then you want input on. So I think it really is important to be engaged at every level and not just when something impacts you. And so that is really why I asked that question, is because we have gone through that, and I know you have put a lot of intentional work into that, as has the entire commission and the city commission. And so that really was the deciding factor for me, I think, in that it is consistent with our master plan.
And we don't make the ultimate decision anyway.
Yes.
The city
Also
commission,
that.
the city commission, who has a different remit for how they engage with the community, has to make the actual decision to rezone. And then after that, the applicant has to make an actual submission, presumably. It might have to go through the plan, it has to go through the planning process. We might be reviewing it again before we give our acquiescence or opposition to it, right?
Yeah, those are
So-
also really good points, so. Thank you for that clarification. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we are still open in discussion. Are there any motions?
Gonna move to recommend that the city commission approves the -25-02.
All those in favor?
Go to-
Oh, I
Got it,
second that.
yeah.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed.
Will you please call a roll call?
Commissioner Devaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Farley,
Aye.
Commissioner Friedrich,
Aye.
Commissioner Havels,
Aye.
Commissioner Irwin,
Nay.
Commissioner Kingsworthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Leash is absent, Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Ordman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for Z 2503, a request to rezone the properties from CD3 Suburban Character District to CD4 General Urban Character District with residential dwelling use only designation. Ms. Polvidico, if you would please introduce the item.
All right, so the last rezoning that we have is a city-led action. So there is a time in which the city of Mount Pleasant is putting forward a rezoning application to the Planning Commission for review. So we are applying for rezoning from CD3 to CD4 with the residential dwelling unit only special requirement for the two parcels located at Cross Lane Street. The properties are currently vacant. It sums up to around 12 acres. And if the rezoning is approved, the city will be able to seek partnerships and apply for infrastructure and in housing development grants to aid with the construction of attainable owner-occupied housing units, as well as affordable rental units. So this is the picture of the current vacant land at Cross Lanes. The land use here is the existing site immediately to the north is a commercial property. On the east side, we have Mary McGuire Elementary School. In the south, we have single-family residences. And on the west, we have duplexes and single-family residences. The future land use, we have the Union Township regulating the use all around the north and east side of the city, of the site. And then we have residential zoned or flagged in the future land use map for the south and west portion. The residential category is basically for single family and then duplex CD3 designation, which is the current land use of the area. The zoning, it's CD3L on the south and CD3 on the west. So these are the subject properties viewed from Cross Lanes looking northwest. And this is the subject property viewed from Manor Lane looking east. It's hard to see. We have vegetation covering the site. The site seems to be fairly flat, and here is where the street would eventually continues if we are able to get grants to help with the development. So the rezoning designation, again, we're with a rezoning petition from CD3 to CD4. It would continue to be only housing development, and it's a typology and density change. So going from CD3, 6 dwelling units per acre, single-family homes, to CD4, 35 up to 35 dwelling units per acre, mixed-use building or missing middle buildings, all the way from duplexes to triplexes, fourplexes, accessory dwelling units, and multiple family dwellings not exceeding 2 stories in height. This is the proposed zoning map. So you do have the CD4 designation in the very end of town being proposed for this site. criteria for amendment, I provided you with answers. Historically, I looked into previous packets of city-led rezonings, and staff used to not provide answers, but I did provide it to help just, have a comparison between actions. And there are several of them that are not applicable in this case. And then going through the master plan, this is the most important part. So the future land use map designation flags this parcel also as attached residential, so for more density. The Book 1 sustainable land use flags attached residential designations for CD4 as the underlying district. CD4 limits development to 2 stories, helping ensure the character and scale and development pattern will be compatible to the existing neighborhood. And then the future land use plan places an importance on creating housing, which meets the need of households today and into the future. And it further targets the construction of missing middle housing. So for this proposal, we believe that the proposed rezoning will help enable denser yet contextual forms of housing development in this area in alignment with the master plan future land use goals. Just regarding contextual forms of housing development, obviously it has a big range of building types that are allowed in CD4. This was done by design, both with the zoning ordinance and master plan. But the one we're really interested in seeing Mount Pleasant is a typology that we do not have. We call it bungalow courts, which are small detached houses around shared courtyards and open spaces. It is a typology that was very common in the 20s and 30s, 1920s, 1930s. And it is a typology that can help provide cheaper ownership opportunities and also great for seniors wanting to downsize. So I have been working with the Housing Commission, Habitat, and Listening Ear in trying to create something that we see the need in the community. We don't have funds to do that ourselves, so it's highly reliant on grants. Therefore, the rezoning is the first step towards that direction. This sizable land is one of the few areas located within the city limits that provides the potential for Mount Pleasant to growth in a larger scale and help tackle the housing shortage pointed out in state and regional housing needs reports. So there is a state report that says the city of Mount Pleasant is in short of approximately 80 owner-occupied units and over 700 renter-occupied units. And then I was just taking note of the draft report that I have from MCOG, from the regional association here, saying that Isabella County has a really low vacancy rate of 0.6% of non-conventional rentals, which are rentals that are not in large, gigantic multiple family, but are in what we are calling missing middle housing, which is it's extremely low based on a healthy market that needs between 4 and 6%. So just to give some parameters on that. And then the gap analysis that has been done right now, it's extremely fresh and in draft form, also says that Isabella County has a rental housing gap of 1,936 units. So there's a long way to go here. The proposed CD4 designation allows for a variety of housing types, especially those classified as missing middle housing, which means 1, the range of buildings types that fall between single family and multiple family, and 2, that have historically been and still are able to provide more attainable housing options to middle income households, even without tax abatements, pilots, light tax, and all those programs. So staff finds that the proposed conditions are consistent with the character of the area and the future land use identified in the master plan. This is a large parcel. It is in close proximity to the elementary school, which can help attract family households, which are currently increasing the city limits. You may recall the demographics chapter that we drafted as part of the master plan. We are seeing an uptick of populations between 30 and 44 years old that need housing. The proximity to commercially zoned land along Pickard can help support existing business and perhaps even change a little bit the nature of the surrounding commercial properties to be more services related and retail related. And the city is currently unable to apply for grants prior to the rezoning proposal. We do need to have a rezoning approved in order for us to seek grants. The state does not like to approve, so we will not be competitive enough if we still have to go through a rezoning process for that. Therefore, this is the first step. So with all of that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommends that the City Commission approves Z-25-03. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Planning Commission have questions for Ms. Plover-Dyko? Seeing none, if the applicant is, we don't need to for the
The applicant is
I just-
myself.
All right, so now I will open this up for public comment, for comments related to this case. Thank you. And as before, if you could please state your name and your address, and that speakers we limit one speaking per proposal, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes.
Okay, that'll be enough. My name is Jane Fox. I live at 103 West Drive in Mount Pleasant. I've lived there about 7 years, and it's a wonderful neighborhood. If you come down Broadway, which is, well, say this is Broadway, okay? You have to take William Street to go east or to go west. I'm right here on West Drive. My neighbor right across the street's on East Drive. Now, all these people that want to go way down there off Broadway are going to come by my house and my neighbor's house and all the people on West and East Drive to go to where? I don't even know. I never got a letter about this. Why not? I know you can't answer me, but this is my home and this is my neighborhood, and they're wonderful neighbors. And I never got a letter. And as anybody I've talked to here, they didn't get a letter either. Why not? Don't you give letters? Don't you mail letters to people who live in those areas that will be impacted by these decisions that you are making? I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. I will tell you that. But none of us were notified, and you can ask everybody here if they were notified. We weren't. I wasn't. Anyway, to make a long story short, what is going to be over there? I really don't know yet. Did that explain what they're going to do over there? Are those going to be apartments? Are they going to be condos? Are they going to be low-income houses? High-income houses? More family units? I haven't heard anything about this. And I wish I would have written a letter if I would have known more about it. But I got no letter on it. How can we as property owners have anything to say when we don't know what's happening? So I guess it sounds like probably we speak tonight and it's probably not going to make any difference. That's the way I feel right now. I don't feel like we're going to be listened to. And I'm very disappointed, as all my neighbors are, and all my friends. The children walk around. We have people walking east, west, Grand, east, south, whatever. They walk it every day. They come from across Broadway and walk in our little area. That traffic is going to be, I see all the traffic that goes on East Drive, West Drive, Grand, East Grand, and they'll end up over there on Crosslanes. And the traffic will be terrible. And it's a nice, quiet neighborhood now. And I'm so disappointed. I love Mount Pleasant, but right now I am so disappointed.
My name is Kurt Maley. I live at 417 East Drive. The outlet for the land that we're talking about is, I'm right on that corner right there. We've talked about the elementary school. You're talking about the West Drive and the East Drive where it comes together. It's like a fork. You got one outlet for that land and you got the other outlet, east and west. It comes together on a fork with a stop sign to where? Broadway, which is gonna be very, very difficult to get the outlet to go. And then the rest of the traffic is for the school, which is in Union Township, I believe, but it's still, you have a lot of kids that are walking. And I don't understand why the city is asking to rezone. As far as I could tell, the owner hasn't asked for it. A developer hasn't asked for a request. We didn't ask for the request. So what are we doing? What's, I get the master plan, but if you don't have a request, then why do it? And I have to look at the worst case scenario. Say you do rezone it and you go to these fourplexes. With the amount of acreage there, worst case scenario, what do we got? 200-300 rental units in a single family residential area? I have to say, I don't recommend rezoning for that. If it would have been, if somehow you could go single family, make the lots a little smaller, it'd be one thing. But you're opening up a whole can of worms with this fourplex, triplex, so on and so forth. So I would have to vote against it.
Good evening. My name's Dawn Betha. I live at 407 West Drive. I did get a letter. Thank you very much. My neighbor did too. He came over to talk to me about it. And we just wanted to know what you were going to do. Nobody seems to be able to tell us. I understand it's going to be rezoned, but are you putting in apartment complexes? Are you putting in, a fourplex? And is it going to spill onto cross lanes? Or is it going to go out the other direction towards Pickard? I know it's got to go through businesses to get there, but we're just kind of wanting to understand what you're doing. Putting in apartment complexes right there is weird. Yes, I get that there's a school right there, but that is a, basically single family home residential area. If you go down east in West Grand, they've got some duplexes and they fit right into the neighborhood beautifully. I can see developing that property and putting in homes, but apartment complex would be really weird. You're just trying to pack people in, and that never really works very well. But I also understand that you guys have already made up your minds and we don't get to say anything about it anyway, but I just thought I'd put my 2 cents worth in.
Hi, my name is Rod Lammers. I live at 516 East Grand Avenue. My property backs up to this lot or one of the 2 lots. I just like to just say that I lived there for about 4 years. I noticed a lot of residents in the neighborhood using it sort of informally as a park. And I would say that we sort of have most of the parks are not in this area in town. So I think it's a good amenity for residents in that area. So I realize this would probably be better at the master plan approval stage, but just to put a plug in for this lot does provide some value. And even if it is redeveloped for homes in the future, having at least part of the property maybe set aside for a small park to serve the residents, I think would be very valuable. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else. Oh.
Yeah, I'm Don Hubble. I live at 504 East Grand. And as I witnessed tonight, I heard a lot of about the owners having to ask for rezoning. And then I understand that with this case, we don't have an owner doing that. Or is the city trying to own it? That's one big question. And I just, I'm not in favor of it. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Seeing no one else from our present audience, do we have any comments online?
No one online?
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to close public comment and open discussion.
Just a quick thing on the discussion, going from CD3 to CD4 will allow grant applications that could not be made now. Is that the story?
Yeah, so basically there aren't grants out there that I'm aware of for housing that would support a simple subdivision or a single family home development, all because grants that are placed by the state, MISHDA in this case, I'm looking at the My Neighborhood program. They are trying to help us tackle the creation of more housing and housing that's attainable. So when we get into that discussion and look at development options for creating attainable housing, we have to move away from single family home developments. So the one way to do that is to look at bungalow courts, which is a type of single family development. It's just smaller single family, which then gets into higher density of units per acreage.
But that's
So that's something I cannot do without the rezoning.
and that's grantable.
That is grantable, exactly.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I get it. It's not a huge zoning change. I mean, that land has been empty since they passed the Swamp Act. I don't know. I think I will vote yes on this one.
I
Go
would-
ahead.
I just have a clarifying question. There's currently no plan. This is just like the very initial baby stage of potentially maybe someday having a plan.
Yeah. So I don't have the resources right now to hire engineering firms, architecture firms to create a beautiful plan. Staff has done a lot already with the tools that we have and time that we have. So we did have the engineering department putting at least the thoroughfares to complete the streets that are missing there. So I put that in my application. You can basically create 3 city blocks with the new infrastructure, and they have calculated the amount of funds that we would need to build the streets, the public infrastructure, which would then incentivize housing development. But we cannot, it's like a chicken and egg situation. Yeah.
Okay, that was what I thought, and I'm very familiar with the My Neighborhood program, so.
Yeah, and I can't really sell the idea of bungalow courts, duplexes, fourplexes, so maybe some courtyard buildings. I can't try to get developers without being zoning ready. And the Habitat for Humanity has been a great partner on this one. They are more on the ownership model. So their purpose is to serve the kind of middle income range and have attainable ownership options, which we really desperately need. So that has been my priority with this potential project. And the infrastructure funding from the Mid-Neighborhood program is one that only local jurisdictions can apply. So a developer could not apply for the infrastructure cost or the funding to build the infrastructure for a large piece of property like that. And we have, I didn't mention that, but we have this one, we have another 12-acre site south close to Isabella Citizens for Health. And then we have maybe 20, 25 acres along the west side of town on Bradley. But then we don't have anything beyond that. And then we do have the Crawford Broomfield, but we just have those like 4 leftover large parcels, and no developer is building right now because it's so expensive to build. They can't, if they would to put infrastructure and build single family homes, create a subdivision, houses are gonna have to be sold at 350, 400K, if not more, by the time that is done. So the city is trying to fill those gaps because we are eligible for grants that developers are not, in order to really try to tackle our housing crisis.
And I think you mentioned on here, like these bungalows are more targeted towards people downsizing, correct? So like people who are kind of retiring and things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely.
Not Deerfield 2.0, right, on the other side of that.
So yeah, we don't need student housing, so it would be terrible business for the city to, get into student housing construction. I think we feel that from applicants too. People are seeing that our need is with long-term residents, is with workforce. Another statistics is we only have 11% of our top 35 occupations in Isabella County. Only 11% of those workers are able to afford housing. 11% of the majority of the occupations and workforce that we have. So yeah, we are trying to fill those gaps as we can. And Mr. Fight, the owner, he had indicated to me back in 2022, he came to meet me when I was starting here. And he said that he wanted to see something good come out of his property. At the time, the city was not willing to do anything. We didn't know of grants that, we were not ready to do anything in terms of owner, potentially acquiring property and getting to development. I've been kept that property in mind for a while, and Mr. Five passed. So now I'm talking with the son, and he is supportive and has provided a authorization, which is required. So I do have the owner authorization for this rezoning request.
Yeah, thank you.
We are currently in discussion, so if there's anyone who'd like to make a motion.
Going to move to recommend that the city commission approve Z-25-03.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing for TC 25-01. Multiple buildings within the same lot, a proposed text change to table 154.405.a of the zoning ordinance to remove the one principal building per lot restriction within CD4, General Urban Character District, better accommodating phased developments. Ms. Povidico, if you could please introduce the item.
Yes, so you already tackled the introduction of it, so I appreciate that. I would also say that aside from enabling multiple buildings in the same parcel, the proposed amendment would also include a clarification on the number of accessory buildings allowed. So it would be one per principal building, since we would be moving towards allowing multiple buildings in the same parcel. And a new screening requirement that I'm proposing to help buffer principal buildings that are located within the third lot layer, since that could be a little bit of a change, but I'll go through my presentation to talk a little bit more about rear setbacks. So the background on this is that at the April 3rd, 2025 meeting, we have presented the master plan, and the part of the master plan had the suggestion from the Progressive Companies consultant on proposed amendments, especially to CD4 regulations, to allow for phased developments, and allowing multiple buildings in one parcel is a way to accomplish that. Aside from that, I would also add, oh, and this is, yeah, sorry, I should have flipped the slide, but this is where in the amendment of the master plan, you can find that information about removing the one principal building per lot restriction to accommodate phase developments. At the master plan, it does say that it's something for us to discuss if we wanted to do that only on Mission Street or citywide, since the scope was mostly focused on Mission Street. The reason why that I'm proposing this on a citywide level, so this tax change will affect every zoning, CD4 zoning designation on the map today, is because aside from not allowing phase development, like you see here on the diagrams on the bottom corner of the slide, we are also not currently allowing forms of missing middle housing typologies. Our master plan is hyper-focused on creating missing middle. It's very much what the state is calling for, with what every single municipality I know of is trying to do. It's reading the planning field. American Planning Association is asking city planners to work on it. Right now, with the one principal building per lot, we are hurting the ability to create bungalow courts and the courtyard apartments. So basically multiple apartments around a courtyard or single-family homes around a courtyard. Those forms of development are more historically, more historical. We tend to not see a lot of developers doing those today. And that is the main reason why there has been a push to develop those back, because it can, again, tackle more attainable housing options. So they also help create that density that's more into context than if we would to build, buildings that are have large footprints, have double loaded corridors with several apartments. It does help create that density in a more contextual form. So one thing, the reason why I'm bringing this right now, I know that the master plan is not yet adopted, and that suggestion is in the master plan under review, but it is again to help support the grant applications. So it goes alongside of the Z2503 rezoning action to allow what we're calling pocket neighborhoods in Mount Pleasant. And then adjacent to that, we have the developer proposing 5 fourplexes at 1104 Chippewa, which will be related to the rezoning Z2502. So this tax change will help basically both developments. And then I wanted to get a little bit more into zoning and how this change relates to the other rules that we have. All the other rules will continue to apply. So for instance, density restrictions, we're not allowing more units. We are continuing to allow the same number of units per acreage. So this change would basically, instead of encouraging a large multiple family, let's say a 1 acre site, under CD4, you could build one gigantic multiple family building that is double loaded, has units next to each other, occupies almost 100% of the lot because we only require 3 feet of a rear setback, and you could have your 35 units that way. Alternatively, you could break that density down into smaller buildings around a common space, which is much more into context than a gigantic footprint in the middle of a neighborhood, right? So this is basically what missing middle is. It's the premise of it. 60% build out requirement will continue to apply, so buildings will still have to be close to the street and provide that, streetscape. Parking location rules will continue to only allow parking in the back, so you're not going to have ocean of parking that you can see from the street, and then buildings that are embedded within that ocean of parking. You're going to see landscaping, you're going to see a sizable or frontage, and then you're going to see parking in the back, and then you may see more buildings behind it. Landscaping, streetscape will continue to apply. And then in terms of distancing between buildings, I had a conversation with the building safety official to make sure that I understood the rules. Building code will continue to apply. So spacing between buildings will be regulated by building code, which is based on construction method, so fire rating, and amount of windows. So if you do provide more windows, you have to set back further. And usually you would need a lot of windows, especially for doing multiple multiple units, right? So so that is how the kind of separation would exist, as well as to ensure safety through fire rating standards. So building code by itself is already helps regulate and ensure that folks are not putting buildings close together, because otherwise they will have to spend much more into the building engineering to make sure that that fire rating walls are not potentially, sending fire hazards from one building to the other in case of a fire. So that's just wanted to restate that. CD4 already allows more than one dwelling unit per parcel by right through use regulations. So we allow all those typologies. And it already allows buildings to occupy most of the rear yard. As I mentioned, we have only a 3-foot rear yard setback requirement in every single zoning district today. So you can create lots that are very shallow and homes that occupy most of the lot. And all we require is the 3-foot setback. That was not my policy. It is what we have in the book since 2018. So with that, I'm putting also the slide from a recent American Planning Association Michigan chapter presentation on pro housing. And this is exactly the slide. I took a screenshot of the talk and put the link there. You can see the presentation, but this particular slide was related to this topic. So they say replace minimum lot widths, typically for infill, should not require someone to own more than one lot, otherwise project will not pencil out. And then they have the illustration showing the missing middle typologies. And then the cottage court is right there in the middle, showing how you can have, small footprint homes that are more attainable and maybe a little, multiple family in the back to get a different typology into. And then I wanted to also look at Mount Pleasant and see what are the types of developments that exist already and that we actually do not allow them anymore. Those things, if someone wanted to build the Rosewood condos today and get approval from the Planning Commission and the city planner, they are not going to be able to propose that because we don't allow multiple buildings within the same lot. So this is one of them. This is just another example. Franklin Village at Gaylord. It's multiple eightplexes. So we have 6 eightplexes in one parcel. And you can see how in this one, the applicant configured, the buildings are, you can see the spacing between them, all based on previous ordinances. And we currently do not allow that. We don't allow Beaupre, which is a fantastic neighborhood. I wanted to live there myself, but units were kind of expensive. They are a compilation of multiple single-family homes with a few duplex units in one parcel. And then these are examples of developments that we currently do not have in Mount Pleasant, and the ones that I've been exploring for the 5 property or maybe other vacant parcels in Mount Pleasant. Which are the bungalow courts. So this is an example of one that won tons of awards out there in the design field. It's called Dennison Grove in Kirkland. It's fully built. You can see the Google Map view of it. And they have 15 single-family homes in one parcel. And that green space in between is great for what some of the public comments were about open space and community. And this is another one which we don't allow, which is in Montana. It has a different name. Let me see. Yeah, I didn't change the name. I apologize for that. Let me see if I can find it. Riverside Crossing. Thank you so much. And it's a new development. So I wanted to show another pocket-like neighborhood. So you can see it's basically a pocket over here on the top and then a pocket here. And then there is a private street that goes around it for vehicle access. But the building frontages are really around the court to increase that community building. And this one is under development and they are almost all sold out. It's a cooperative model. They have 7 designs that you can choose from. And then you can basically take ownership of a portion of the whole development if you opt in. And it's usually co-ops are better at keeping affordability in the long run. And I've seen tons of them in my experience back in New York. communities that, co-ops that have been there for like 100 years. So anyhow, so this is my recommended action for the planning commission to approve or recommend that the city commission adopt text change to C-25-01. And here you can see the overview again of the particulars of the text change proposal. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Does any members of the planning commission have any questions for Ms. Povideco?
I do. So those slides you just showed us, those were not currently permitted, but they would be with this text change?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, the second thing, the bungalow style too, would that permit tiny houses in the city?
So we don't have any minimum square footage requirement in the zoning ordinance. If that's something that the planning commission is interested in, you can let me know, but we don't regulate footprint or size of homes. So it's really dependent upon compliance with building code. But yeah, just as a basis, we have the accessory dwelling unit. It has to be at least 400 square feet, which is pretty high actually. I've had an applicant trying to do something smaller, but couldn't. And then we don't have anything else so you could do small homes.
So you're
today.
saying yes?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can do it already now, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Except
So-
it's all in one parcel. Then you can't do it.
No, you could on one parcel.
On one parcel, so you have to do multiple parcels. So for instance, CD4, you could
I would say
split.
with the bungalow style though, because that's all on one parcel, is it not?
So bungalow
Yeah.
would be one parcel. Yeah, so you can do the bungalow style, but it
And those
could,
all be tiny houses?
yeah, they could, yeah.
That was my question. Thank you.
Okay.
So you're saying that somehow back in 2018 or 2019, we accidentally zoned out condominium developments?
Mhm.
And nobody noticed that?
It seems like I spoke with the city attorney to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And the way it is written right now, the interpretation is that a unit condominium would not be allowed. You could do a subdivision-like condominium, so you could sell parcels with buildings, but you couldn't be able to sell just the drywall to drywall, which is pretty common here and very popular.
Yeah, like a quadplex condominium would not, yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Okay.
So these type of houses obviously could go up in like some of the other applicants that we got today, right? Those
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, so this change would affect the potential project that we're trying to pull off, bungalows, and then also the previous applicant that wanted to do 5 fourplexes. So without this tax change, they could only put more than one building. If they were to do some sort of subdivision within that site, they wouldn't be able to do multiple fourplexes in one parcel.
Man,
So
I kinda-
basically, we allow the density, but you can't really build it.
Oh, I kind of wish some people stuck around for that one, but
Do we have to have is this a public hearing one?
yeah.
We do have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right, any further questions?
No.
Okay. And then, with this, do I open it up for public comment then? Okay, seeing no one present from the public wishing to comment, is there anyone online?
No one online?
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will close public comment and open discussion.
I move that we recommend to the city commission to adopt text change 2501.
Second.
Second.
I'm gonna-
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, next item on our agenda is public comment. Seeing no one here wishing to comment from the public, anyone
No one
online?
online?
Okay. Thank you. I will close public comment. Next item on our agenda is staff report, administrative reviews. Ms. Povideco?
All right, so we have 2 site plans that were approved administratively. The first one is 509 Industrial Drive. It was approved on May 12, SPR-25-04. And it was a proposed impound yard at 509 Industrial Drive, which includes a fenced area behind the existing building for vehicles, improvements to the gravel drive, the addition of a sidewalk along the property frontage in the street of right of way, parking striping and layout on the existing concrete area, bicycle parking, street trees, and planting for screening. The next one is SPR 25-06 for 315 West Locust. It was approved on May 21st, and it was a very small scope project. I may get back to all of you to see if we can waive some of these and just send to the building department. It was simply an enclosure behind an existing staircase, so they can have storage in their 3-unit rental home. And that's it. Oh, sorry. And then I have, you don't have to call for this one. It's another staff report. So as you may have realized, we have a new planning commissioner here today. We are full now. We have our 9 seats taken. Fabian Martinez started just today here at the Planning Commission. And we did go through.
Shortest meeting you're ever gonna see.
We did a
That's okay.
presentation on May 14th. And do you want to share anything about yourself?
Today's your last day?
I mean, it's been exciting so far, but I've been here for almost a year. I really like Mount Pleasant and I really like the direction it's going.
Appreciate you, Fabian.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
They're not always 3 hours long. just
Yes.
So you understand.
Yes.
That is
I get
not a normal thing.
That concludes my staff report.
Can I just like say just one thing, I guess? I don't know if I'm probably talking to nobody, but I guess this goes to like just everyone who showed up. I really appreciate it, but I just wish, and I pray, they just hear us out, hear what's being implemented, and don't just think, oh, something new's coming in, this is terrible, like, there goes the freaking neighborhood. Because if they stuck around and saw what we're kind of proposing to build, these beautiful bungalows, so people who are aging can downsize and all of these things to help, close this gap in a rental and housing crisis, they would understand. And I'm talking to nobody and I don't care because please, just open your ears. I understand it's frightening. Change is uncomfortable, but please, please, please just hear everyone out. And there's my TED Talk for the day. Thank you.
I do want to also say I really appreciate the bringing forth of that option of housing. I think that is something that a lot of people do look for, of having, in a sense, their own home. They don't need a McMansion. They're not looking for that. They're looking for home ownership that's not an apartment, especially with the young families or young professionals. And that would allow for so many people who are seeking housing to have that kind of opportunity. And I think it greatly fits in with our existing neighborhood model. It's almost like here's just another little courtyard building, like a build addition to the existing neighborhood, more than, as we all know, and we agree, we don't need any more student housing building, so I think that allows for us to greatly support that vision.
And denser housing and denser growth improves the tax base way more than single family housing does.
Yes.
It's just a fact. And so like maybe we should encourage those kinds of growth as opposed to.
Well, and I also think around young families, there's a nice, yes, for our aging population, but also for young families, having that kind of village almost, being created in some communities. I can see that being really, something that the young families could value as well. Speaking as a
first house. I mean, we were in Metro Detroit. We didn't have a nice little grassy courtyard, but we had this little offshoot road that was an add-on to a neighborhood. And we all had these little bungalow houses, and it was amazing. I had this wonderful elderly neighbor, and you know, she made us baklava and we helped her when her grandson flushed toys down the toilet. I mean, it was great.
Right.
It was a great neighborhood. It was, you know, but it was just this one little like courtyard of small little bungalow houses. It was really great.
Commissioner Wortman, that was so eloquently said. I don't think we can say anymore. So I'm going to move to adjourn.
Second,
Although,
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
also, thank you, sir, for sticking out. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much, man. Whoa, shout out to Leo. God bless you, bro.
Yeah.
God bless you. God, I need a sticker.
That was stressful.
Fabian, brother.
Okay, normally it's like, I think my first meeting was like maybe
That was a level of.
30 minutes long,
This is
maybe.
Crazy, just to add with city commission thing that offered. and we feel like that-
So you're gonna have to be the bad guy sometimes. Good job.
Yeah.
You're gonna realize it.
They don't